Hello friends, welcome to Mahipal Reddy GK channel. Myself Prithvidhar Reddy. Today we are going to discuss important current affairs. Firstly, May 5th has some significance attached. So what is that significance? On May 5th of every year, we celebrate International Midwives Day in order to recognize the contribution of the midwives. Who are the midwives? The midwives are the women who possess the practical knowledge about helping the pregnant women during the childbirth, because you can't avail the services of the doctors every time. So you need to have the people who are having the practical approach to tackle the issues with respect to the pregnancy, with respect to delivery, with respect to the child care. So from which year we are celebrating this particular International Midwives Day? From the year 1992, we are celebrating this. In the year 1992, there was International Confederation of Midwives was actually formed. So this actually started celebrating this particular day in order to recognize the contribution of the midwives. And if you try to understand the current theme of the International Midwives Day, it is follow the data, invest in midwives. It underscores the significance of investing the resources in developing the qualified human resources. So this is what the theme of the International Midwives Day. Coming to the second important topic, that is a Sutra model. So many scientists are blaming this particular model, which is used for the tackling of the current COVID pandemics. So what does the Sutra stand for? Sutra stands for susceptible, undetected, tested, and removed approach. So this is the approach which we are actually implementing till the recent times. But the second wave was not predicted by this particular model. This model was not sufficient enough to tackle the problem with respect to the current COVID pandemics. Okay, this was a criticism. So they may ask you, Sutra model is related to which of the following? So you must identify the right answer with respect to the COVID-19. And the next important topic, there is a demise of Manas Bihari Verma. Manas Bihari Verma. Who is Manas Bihari Verma? He is an Indian astronautical scientist who was instrumental in developing the light combat aircraft that is called Tejas. So he worked along with the President of India, so the former President of India, Abdul Kalam. In the year 2018, for his contribution towards the Indian science, he was presented with the Padma Shri Award. And after his retirement also, because he was science enthusiast, so he has started a lab called Mobile Science Lab, so which aimed at promoting the science education in the Bihar. You know Bihar status, it is underdeveloped state. So for that reason, in order to enhance the skills of the people, in order to enhance the scientific temper in the society, he started a Mobile Science Lab. And he also worked as a scientist at the DRDO, Defense Research Development Organization, and he worked for 35 years. It is not a simple period. And he worked with various departments. Okay, and also he was a part of the design team of the light combat aircraft, okay, which is developed by Aeronautical Development Agency. So let us understand what is LCA, what is Tejas. Okay, so the awards which he has received include, as a DRDO scientist, he has received an award called DRDO Scientist of the Year Award for the 2001, and the DRDO Technology Leadership Award for the year 2004, Padma Shri Award for 2018. These are the recognition for his efforts and contribution for the science. And coming to what is Tejas, Tejas is light combat aircraft, which is very much lighter in weight compared to other fighter jets. So this program was started in the year 1984. This is what the Tejas, and there was this establishment of a special agency called Aeronautical Development Agency, which is the nodal agency, okay, for the development of the Tejas, and it has collaboration with the DRDO also. And the manufacturing responsibilities were given to Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, which is headquartered in Bangalore. And coming to the features of the LCA Tejas, because in the examination You may not be asked about this particular scientist. You may be asked with respect to the Tejas also. They may go into the background stories. So for that reason, we must learn what are the features of the Tejas. So Tejas is lightest, okay, smallest and tailless, multi-role supersonic fighter. Why we are calling it a supersonic fighter? Because it is having the Mach speed more than the sound speed, which is having the speed more than the sound speed. That is why it is called a supersonic. And it can detect the objects spanning around 3000 kilometers. The range of this particular LCA is 3000 kilometers, and it is having a great capacity called air to air refueling capacity. It is having certain features which are possessed by the fifth generation fighter jets also. Okay, and this is called air to air refueling capacity, and this has the missile launching capacity, air to air and air to surface missile launching capacity. And recently, if you try to get some information about the LCA, Cabinet Committee on Security recently cleared a deal worth of 48,000 crore for the acquisition of 83 Tejas light combat aircrafts for the Indian Air Force. And these 83 Tejas include 73 LCA Tejas Mk1A fighter aircrafts. This is a variant of LCA, and 10 LCA Tejas Mk1 trainer aircrafts. Okay, so in a way, we are trying to indigenize our defense procurements and fighter jet procurements, whereby it may boost the domestic industrial capacity. Okay, and these are beyond visual range. These are having the capacity to launch the missiles like beyond visual range missiles. Okay, this is what an advancement that we are going to make with the Mk1A variant. It is having the electronic warfare system, advanced electronically scanned array radar system, and software defined radio. These are all the advanced features which are usually shared by the fifth generation fighter jets. Coming to Tejas trainer. So it is having two-seater operational conversion trainer for training Air Force pilots, LCA Navy, twin and single seat carrier capable for the Indian Navy, LCA Tejas Navy Mk2. This is the phase 2 of the LCA Navy variant. LCA Tejas Mk1A. This is an improvement over the LCA Tejas Mk1 with a higher thrust engine. So this is what the high aircraft which is having the higher thrust engine. And coming to next important topic, former Union Minister and Jammu and Kashmir Governor passed away at the age of 94. He born on 25th January 1927 in Punjab, and he belonged to BJP. Worked as a Union Minister for Urban Development and Tourism in the Vajpayee's government. So he has held various positions in the course of his political journey. He held the portfolio under Atal Bihari Vajpayee government, and also he held the various constitutional offices also. He worked as Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. He worked as Lieutenant Governor of Goa, Daman and Diu, Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Governor of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, he has worked in various capacities at various positions. And coming to the awards and honors of the Jagmohan Malhotra include, first one, he was awarded Padma Shri by the then President of India on 26 January 1971 for the formulation and implementation of the Delhi Master Plan. Okay, so the Delhi Master Plan is a great one of the good planning systems implemented for the metropolitan cities like Delhi. And he was awarded Padma Bhushan Award in the year 1977 for his meritorious services in the country. In the year 2016, he was awarded for the Padma Vibhushan. This is the second highest civilian award whichever is awarded in India. So in this way, he is very, very important personality in India. So that's why the awards must be remembered. And secondly, Crassidura narcondamica. This is what the shrew species. What is shrew? Shrew is like a insectivorous mammal, and it looks like a mice. Okay, and it is a new shrew species which is discovered in the Andaman Nicobar Islands. And what is shrew? It is an insectivorous mammal, and it was discovered by scientists of the Geological Survey of India, And where it was discovered? It was discovered in the Narkundam Island of the Jammu and Kashmir. And this current discovery is very, very important and very, very significant, because it is a discovery after 43 years of Geological Survey of India's discovery of Crocidura jenkinsi on the South Andaman Island in the year 1978. So that's why it is very, very significant discovery. So that's why please do remember this particular Crocidura narcondamica. So this narcondamica is actually named after the Narkundam Island. Narkundam Island. Next, coming to the facts about Geological Survey of India. This is a research organization in the field of geology, as you know very well. And it is launched in the year 1916. It has been in the existence before the independence itself. And it has 16 regional centers across the India. And it is headquartered in Kolkata. And the director is Kailash Chandra. So these are the facts, very, very vital facts to be remembered. And next important topic is 2 beetle species thriving on the animal dung was discovered in the Pune and Nasik in Maharashtra. So these beetles are commonly spotted inside the soil after the first rainfall. And these are the beetles that grow on the plants and crops like sugarcane. So these are the 2 beetle species which were discovered in the state of Maharashtra. And what are the features? So the features include, first one, these are deep brown in color. And second one is, these are having the distinct horns growing on the face. And coming to the name of the researchers, first one is Aparna Kalavate. She is from Geological Survey of India itself. She has collaborated with the German scientist Oliver Hillert. So these are the important points to be remembered regarding these particular 2 beetle species which were discovered from the state of Maharashtra. And there are advantages with respect to beetles, because we must respect the diversity, biodiversity. Biodiversity is very, very important to maintain the ecological balance. There are many ecological services are given by diverse organisms. So that's why the biodiversity must be preserved and must be protected, must be conserved. So these beetles help in the soil aeration. These help in the improvement of the soil nutritive values. This will support the soil dispersion. This will also improve the soil fertility. These are the services rendered by this particular beetle species. And coming to next important topic, deck operation trials of the Dhruv helicopter has been started. So actually the Dhruv helicopters are manufactured by the Hindustan Aeronautical Limited itself. And the variant of this Dhruv helicopter is Dhruv Mk3. This is for the naval version. And there is a demonstration of the Dhruv helicopters on the Indian Coast Guard ships, that is called Sujai. On the Sujai ship, the demonstration of the capabilities of the Dhruv helicopter has been started. So what is the demonstration is for? So how the Dhruv is functioning, how it is landing, how it is folding its blades, how the refueling is happening. So all these things must be observed, because in the wartime time, especially in the war times, we have to have lot of maneuverability in tackling with the enemy threats. Okay, so that's the reason why the demonstration is very, very mandatory. How it is working, the working style, the real-time experience must be gathered, the information must be gathered. Okay, for that reason the demonstration is being done. And in the year 2007, the HAL, Hindustan Aeronautical Limited, had signed a contract with which is the worth of 5,026 crore for the supply of the 16 advanced light helicopters. So what are the features of these helicopters? The features of the helicopters, if you try to observe, these are equipped with the Shakti engines. This is what very, very important. You may get a question. The Dhruv helicopter is equipped with which of the following engines? That is what the Shakti engines. And these are having the advanced glass cockpits. These are having the identification range of 120 kilometers, 12.7 cabin mounted gun, automatic identification systems, high intensity searchlight. These are the specific features of the Dhruv helicopter, especially advanced light helicopter Dhruv Mk3. This is for the naval version. And coming to the Hindustan Aeronautical Limited, So this was established in the year 1940 and it is headquartered in Bangalore. And the chairman and managing director of the HAL is R. Madhavan. So these are the facts related to the Hindustan Aeronautical Limited. And next important topic we must remember is government sets a road construction target, okay, for the 2 years, which is a worth of 15 lakh crores, not a simple amount. How much? 15 lakh crore rupees. What is the target of Ministry of Road Transport and Highways to achieve the construction of 40 kilometers per day? After the assumption of the power by NDA, so what happened? The road construction projects have taken a faster pace. So now they are aiming for 40 kilometers per day accomplishment of the road construction. This is what a good target, which is an ideal target and achievable target. And in order to facilitate the fund flow for these infrastructure projects, the government has allowed 100% foreign direct investments in the highway sector. This is what the policy decision that was made. And it is a part of national infrastructural pipeline. So this pipeline is for the provision of the world-class infrastructure for India, because India is very much deficient of the world-class infrastructure. If we want to boost up the manufacturing process, we need to have the proper infrastructural projects. Proper infrastructure must be in a place. So this national infrastructural pipeline has the vision of achieving or constructing the infrastructural projects of 7,300 projects, which are worth of 111 lakh crores by the year 2025. This is what the target. And coming to the Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Nitin Gadkari is the minister, and Minister of State is the Vijay Kumar Singh. So these were the major takeaway points regarding the national infrastructural pipeline. Coming to other important topic, JSW Energy signs a power purchasing agreement with the Solar Energy Corporation of India. So this particular energy company has signed the PPA with the Solar Energy Corporation of India. What is the new thing in signing this particular PPA? Because it is very, very extraordinary deal as far as the wind energy is concerned. Because it is the single largest wind PPA till today. And India's target under the Paris Climate Treaty, how much, 450 megawatts building up of the solar, that is renewable energy or wind energy by the 2030. This particular PPA aims to boost up this wind energy by increasing its capacity manyfold, that is up to 540 megawatts. It is more than the India's commitment for the Paris Climate Accord. This is what the game-changing partnership that is going to happen. And the current renewable energy capacity is only 94 gigawatts. Okay, so that's what we have to remember. And coming to JSW Energy, the managing director and CEO of this particular JSW Energy is Prashant Jain, and headquarters are located in the Mumbai. And coming to SECI, that is Solar Energy Corporation of India. So this is a central public sector undertaking under the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. This must be remembered. They may ask you SECI is whether it is a public sector undertaking under what ministry. They may ask you that way. And you must also remember it is a public sector undertaking. And the chairman and managing director of this Solar Energy Corporation of India is Jalindranath Swain. And the head office located in New Delhi. So this is what must be remembered. Coming to other important current affair, Ministry of Food Processing Industry issued some guidelines in order to enhance the food processing sector, the capacities of the food processing sector in India. It has issued some guidelines for the incentive schemes for the food processing industry in India. This is called production linked incentive scheme for the food processing industry. It was for the first time launched in India in March 2021, and the Union Cabinet approved 10,000 crores for this particular scheme. And the food processing minister had launched this online portal for the applicants to apply for the scheme. So it is a system to ensure the transparency and accessibility to all the actors in the society. And coming to the guidelines talk about who are eligible for this particular scheme. The scheme is production linked incentive scheme for the food processing industry. It means the incentives are not provided just like that. The incentives are provided for only the producers, okay, not for the starters. So this must be remembered. And the eligible firms include the proprietary firms, partnership firms, cooperatives, and small and medium enterprises. These are all the eligible entities for this particular scheme. And the incentive and the grants under the particular scheme is provided under three categories. You must remember: first category, second category, and third category. Coming to the first category, the large entities for the incentives based on sales and investments. For the example, if you want to give the incentives for the large entities, those incentives must be based on the sales and investments by that particular company. And second category is about small and medium enterprises for their contribution for the organic products and innovative products. So this is for the second category. Third category include for those who are applying for grants for branding and marketing activities abroad. It means it is a scheme, it is an incentive for the exporters, So these are the three categories provided under this particular scheme. And coming to another important topic, very, very important topic to be remembered, Saudi Arabia joins Net Zero Producers from Forum on the Climate Change. There is a forum started by 5 countries which are responsible for the 40% oil production. 40% oil production. So these include Saudi Arabia, Qatar, USA, Canada, and Norway. Previously, Saudi Arabia was not member of this particular club. Now Saudi joins. For what? In order to ensure the net zero production, because the climate change is very, very happening at the very, very faster pace. We have to stop it because it is going to impact our lives in many dimensions. Diseases, droughts, floods, you can name anything. Nothing will be excluded from the phenomenon of climate change. For that reason, there is a forum started especially by the oil exporters, because oil is one of the major reasons for the carbon emissions in the world. So for that reason, Saudi Arabia also joined this particular club of Net Zero Producers Forum. And coming to this particular forum, so what they want to do? They want to do something very much clearly, that is, they want to abate the methane. They want to go for the circular carbon economy approach. That is nothing but recycling of the carbon resources or carbon elements, and carbon capture and storage technology. So this must be ensured. And coming to this particular thing, all these have started a cooperative forum on the climate called Net Zero Producers Forum. So this is what a cooperative approach in order to abate the pollution or emissions related to the oil. And by 2030, Saudi Arabia aims to reduce its carbon emissions by generating at least 50% of their energy requirements of the country from the renewables. So this is what the game-changing commitment from the Saudi Arabia. And United Nations also plans to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. So every country is coming onto the track. So it is very, very pleasureful moment for the countries all over the world. And what is net zero? If you try to understand, net zero is nothing but it's a balance between the amount of the greenhouse gases produced and amount removed from the atmosphere. For example, if you are going to produce 100 units of the carbon dioxide, if you are going to abate the pollution or abate or diminish this particular CO2 concentration from the environment by 100 units, so it means you are producing 100 units and you are eliminating 100 units. So that is nothing but called net zero. So net zero is achieved when the amount they add is not more than the amount they take away. So that is what the net zero. Okay. Thank you, friends. Thank you for watching this video. And please suggest your requirements under the comment box. In the comment box, I will definitely watch the comment box and I will go according to your wishes. Okay, so please be ready to give the advices and suggestions in order to get your required content. Okay, thank you so much. Meet you in the next class.